Well, well, well. Another Saturday morning, Final Cut TV and Coffee, and look who we have magically appearing. Here you go. Thanks for the thumbs up very much. I might have to leave this broadcast for just a couple minutes. Maybe, because let me show you why. Thank you very much. Another thumbs up. It's appreciated. Absolutely. Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Lots of thumbs up. There's another one. Thank you very much. We appreciate all the thumbs up. That's all we get is good old people watching us with thumbs up. Thanks for adding to the viewer count. We appreciate that. Let me see how many people are watching. Yep, we got a lot of people watching already. Another thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Let me show you why I might have to leave just for a minute. It won't be very long. Hold on one second. This is the reason I might have to leave just for a minute. This is my new iPad Pro. This is my new iPad Pro that's arriving today, and it's going to arrive anytime from 9:45 to 1:45. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn the outdoor cameras on outside there so I can see when the delivery vehicle arrives, and then I'll give you a shot of the outdoors or something and go get the package. Look, we have a different view today than we've had in the past. Look at this. Now, there's a story behind why. There's a story behind this view. There's a story behind this view, which I'll get into a little bit later. Let's get to some of the comments first. Here we go. A triple Italian espresso, and I'm ready to go. So a lot of people think espresso is French. It's not. It's Italian. I learned that somewhere along the line. Thank you. It's Italian. So triple shot of espresso. I guess you are. That's like rocket fuel. Good morning. I'm looking forward to Monday's WWDC event. I'm looking forward to it more now that I have this happening. I'm looking forward to it more that I have my iPad Pro. I'll have it during the event, so that'll be very cool. So I got the 1 terabyte, thanks to our friend who came on this broadcast and said, no, don't get the 512, get the 1 terabyte. It's twice as much memory. It's 16 gigabytes versus 8 gigabytes. It's one extra cord. Is probably, I think it's a faster way they do the SSDs because they put them in RAID 0 or something like that. So I got the 1 terabyte space black 13-inch. So, and I already got the case for it. I already got the protective screen for it. So, sipping a strong dark roast and loving life, I added projects. Here's mine. So, when I make my coffee, I have big scoops. Not a tablespoon, but a big scoop. I put 2 of those in a single cup of coffee. 2 of those in a single cup. See if I get this a little closer. Yes, I can. I put 2 of those in a single cup, and then I put in real cream because I like the taste of it. I like strong coffee, and I like to temper it with cream and a little bit of Splenda. Good morning from Canoas, Brazil. Absolutely. Congrats on the new iPad Pro. I ordered mine before you from Apple, still hasn't shipped. Here's the deal. I ordered mine from Amazon. You have to watch. You have to watch these sales. Amazon had, I don't know, a couple hours sale where they gave you $130 off. $130 off on a brand new iPad Pro. So I jumped on that deal, and it's coming today. It's coming anytime now. So I don't know. It was brand new. I was waiting for it. I saw a couple of sales at $50 off, $49 off. I said, that's not enough. I saw this one for $130 off. I said, yes. They had one left or whatever. Jumped on it, got through. It's coming today. So I got mine for $130 off. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited about it because, well, let me say this comment. Apple is finally embracing AI. They've had AI capabilities for a while, but avoided calling it AI. Now that they're fully diving in, they'll probably call it IAI. They're calling it Apple Intelligence, not artificial intelligence. Same acronym, AI, they're calling it Apple Intelligence. Look, Apple, AI equals Apple Intelligence. Very, very clever branding on their part. AI is not artificial intelligence, it's Apple Intelligence. So there's going to be a difference. Very, very cool. They're smart. They're smart some of the time. Waiting for Final Cut Pro update before Apple event come as you predicted. Now, here's the thing. I was saying I'd be surprised if it didn't come out before WWDC, because during WWDC, they're busy. They got their hands full. They got, a whole week of stuff. So at this point, all bets are off for 10.8. All bets are off. It could show up this weekend because they have released major updates to Final Cut Pro in the past on a Sunday before NAB. Before NAB. If it arrives Sunday night before WWDC or Monday morning before the keynote, it could arrive at any time between now and June the 20th. All bets are off that they didn't come out before WWDC. I thought they were going to put it out before WWDC. We'll have to see. We need auto caption text editing. It's number 1 on my list now. That has replaced the scrolling timeline for me, but I don't expect, well, it's not going to be in 10.8 if they would have announced it, so it's not going to be there. But I think they're going to have Final Cut Pro 11 later in 2024, and that's when I expect text-based editing and auto captioning. But I agree with you. We need auto captioning, text-based editing. Number 1 on my list now. I like my coffee with cream too. So for years I used half and half cream, half milk, but it just gets weaker and weaker and weaker and starts tasting more like milk. I like the taste of cream and very strong coffee. That's what I like. Good morning, Final Cut Pro community. There you go, from Dominican Republic. Absolutely. Absolutely. Glad to see you tuning in. Absolutely. I hope that whatever is announced at WWDC is some sort of indicator on what is implemented in Final Cut and why it hasn't been updated. So let's go back to my graphic. So look at my graphic here. Let me put this on top. Here we go. Look at my graphic here. I have Tim Cook praying for Final Cut Pro 10.8. See, he got his hands. He's praying for Final Cut Pro 10.8, and I forget what this guy's name is. The main guy. He's looking at Final Cut Pro 10.8, but 10.8 is kind of half in this dimension and half not. So Tim Cook is praying for Final Cut Pro 10.8, and this guy, I forget what his name is also, he's looking at 10.8, but it's not quite there. It's like half in, half out. So listen, at this, since 10.8 did not come out before WWDC, which I thought it would because they're busy with WWDC, we might not see it till June the 20th. Because Apple, like last year, they announced Final Cut Pro 10.7 at the beginning of November at the Creative Summit. They said it'll come out later this month. It came out the last day of the month. It came out the last day of November. So, or the last Thursday, whenever that was. That could be when it's coming out. Why? I don't know. I'd be pleasantly surprised if it came out during WWDC. Maybe they're going to show the latest rumors are there's going to be no hardware at this WWDC. Okay, that hardware released. That's not unusual because it is a developers conference. But I can't imagine they're not going to preview new M4 Macs. That makes zero sense to me because they are absolutely going to have new Macs out the second half of 2024. They're not going to be M2 Macs. They're not going to be M3 Macs unless the studio gets one of those double M3s. But even then, now that they've pre-announced the M4 Mac, the M4 iPad Pro and the iPad Pro, I would think everything going forward on the Mac end of things has to be the M4 chip. That's what I think. Now, releasing it, I don't have any, that would be a pleasant surprise if they released it. But I think they're going to preview the M4 MacBook Pro coming out later. Maybe the Mac Studio, M4 Mac Studio, maybe the M4 Mac Mini, maybe the M4 iMac to come out later in the year. I can't imagine them not mentioning the M4 Macs that are coming out later this year. That would not be very wise on their part. That doesn't make any sense to me when they have this great opportunity with millions of people watching to advertise what's coming out later this year. What did they do in 2019? They showed us the new Mac Pro at WWDC in June coming out later this year. Later this year means December. So they showed it at WWDC. It came out 6 months later, 5 months later in December. Also in other news, Adobe really stepped in it this week with entitling themselves to your content. I never used Premiere and now never will. I absolutely despise the Adobe pay for the rest of your life ransom model that they have. Not the software, not After Effects, not Premiere, not Photoshop. The horrible, horrible ransom that they charge. You can never stop paying for the rest of your life if you want to use their software. Never. You can't stop when you're 90 years old and want to do some family videos. No, we're going to keep on taking money from you. We don't care if you're 90 years old. Horrible, horrible ransom model. I absolutely despise that. And they did step into it, didn't they? We'll go over that in a little bit. I'm still rocking my 2018 iPad Pro, which I get 46% off during COVID after they released the 2020 model. Got it in its original package. There you go. Absolutely. Craig Federighi. There, thank you. That's his name, Craig. So our friend Eric last week, in the last couple of weeks, has said there's going to be no hardware releases at WWDC. Now, he is correct. No hardware releases, probably. It would not surprise me if they released something, but let's say I agree with Eric. He said it the last couple of weeks, but I'm saying they're going to at least preview M4 hardware because they've done it in the past. Last year, they had a lot of hardware releases or previews at WWDC. 2019 is the big one with the Mac Pro. They showed it to us at WWDC. Didn't come out till December. So I'm saying we're at least going to see previews of Mac hardware at WWDC. I would be completely shocked. They're not going to mention the M4? That doesn't make any sense. They have millions of people watching. They're not going to, they have to mention what's coming out along the M4 line. They have to give us something. I would be shocked if they don't mention it, except for the iPad Pro. Good morning, Sean. Sean says, good morning. What are you planning to do with your old iPad? Probably give it to my girlfriend, probably because she has one that's a little bit smaller, a little bit older. Probably give it to her. Here's what I do with my current iPad, okay? Once in a while, I use LumaFusion on it, edit LumaFusion, but I edit with LumaFusion on this more because I can attach SSD drives. This is my iPhone 15 Pro Max. But basically what I do is I read books on it, either Kindle or the bookstore, watch tutorials if I'm riding my indoor bike. If it's raining outside or it's cold, I'll watch tutorials on YouTube or whatever on it. And when I'm on the airplane going back and forth to the West Coast for like the Creative Summit, which is coming up in November, I'll watch movies. I'll download a whole slew of movies from Netflix or whatever and watch them on the airplane. For me, that's the best way to pass the time. So, and then at nighttime, I read. I'll go over some websites. I'll have it in bed with me. So it's going to be the same thing, except the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to launch LumaFusion and edit on it on a big screen. I can't imagine how cool that's going to be. From an SSD drive, from an attached SSD drive. Now, the iPad Pro has a Thunderbolt port. This is a USB 3 port. So the iPad Pro can attach to Thunderbolt drives? I don't know. I presume. Eric says, nope, no hardware announcements in his opinion. We already know these products are coming. It's not news. What products do we know are coming? What products do we know are coming? Tell me what products you know are coming. It's not news. Was the announcement of the 2019 Mac Pro news? We knew that was coming. They pre-announced it. They pre-announced it when they had that meeting with all the Hollywood types. They said, well, we got a new Mac Pro in the works, blah, blah, blah. But it's still nice to see it. It's still nice to see if it's a touchscreen MacBook Pro, if it's got Thunderbolt 5, all these details. Of course, this is when they show, I can't imagine them just talking about iOS and Mac OS and tvOS and iPad OS and not even mentioning their brand new M4 chipset. That makes no sense to me. I'm saying they're going to show us these products to come out later in the year. Now, they might release an odd thing. Maybe they'll release new AirPod Pros or something or whatever. I think they're going to do it. And plus, they're going to be iVision OS, whatever that is for the goggles. There we go. I'm curious to see if we get into Vision OS updates in terms of new features. I thought they already pre-announced that for iVision 2, or Vision OS 2 is supposed to be coming in. I think I read that. I want good rotoscoping to Final Cut Pro. No need to pay CineStudio to VFX. Yeah, I keep hearing about rotoscoping. I understand what it is, but I have not used it that much. So that sounds very cool. They might use WWDC to show us what we will get of new features with our current machines. The M4 versions will just do better than our current ones. Don't think we will get M4 only features. No, I don't think so either. I think the new drawing line is M chips. If you have an M1, M2, or M3, and now the M4, I think that's going to determine some features, not M4 specific, but still they show us hardware at WWDC that's coming out later the year. It's coming out later the year. They also have previewed versions of Final Cut Pro that's coming out later in the year. Now, later in the year means December, typically. And just like this time, they said, no matter what people say, Apple did not give a timeline for Final Cut Pro 10.8. They did not say it's coming out later this spring. They said Final Cut iPad's coming out later this spring. They said Final Cut Camera's coming out later this spring. And Logic Pro 11 is coming out later this spring. For some odd reason, it could have just been a glitch. Love that word. Glitch covers everything. Could have just been a glitch. Could have been the webmaster. There is no time frame for Final Cut Pro 10.8. Now, if you want to infer that, that's understandable, because they said the other one is later this spring, later this spring, later this spring. Spring ends on June the 20th. June the 21st is Final Cut Pro's 13th birthday. It could come out the 20th. Who the heck knows? Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. Always got viewers. We appreciate adding to the viewer count. Very, very cool. We know M4 products are coming. We also knew the Final Cut. We also knew that the Mac Pro, the M version of the Mac Pro was coming in 2019. We knew that. They still showed it. They still showed it. Please test Thunderbolt in your new iPad and tell us your experience. I will indeed. I have a Thunderbolt specific drive, and I'll hook it up and see if it sees it. See if it sees it. Apple Intelligence, yes, that's exactly what they're calling it. The next gen Mac Pro will need to offer more than just the possibility to add PCI cards. Otherwise, the amount of people who will really need it would be limited. I don't think their Mac Pro, their M series Mac Pro is selling very well. Before the M series was released, yeah, I bought a 2019. I bought a 2019 for about $9,000. I forget what the specs were. I sold it for half that price a few years ago. That money has been set aside for a new M4/M5 MacBook Pro. Now that I got the iPad Pro coming, there's no hurry for me to get the M4 MacBook Pro. My M1 Max MacBook Pro is running spectacularly. So I agree. The next-gen MacBook Pro will need to have more than just the possibility to add PCI cards. Mac Pro, the Mac Studio, the same way. They got to do more than just speed bump it. Yes, we also have spatial tools that are anticipated for Final Cut Pro. Yes, they've already pre-announced that. Absolutely. But I think that's going to be Final Cut Pro 11 later this fall at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Hello from Jamaica. Anticipating Final Cut Pro 10.8 next week? Fingers crossed, absolutely. Yeah, but I use a lot of motion effects in Final Cut Pro and Apple Motion in my workflow, so I need better VFX. I understand. I'm not I see that a lot, that people want rotoscoping. Apple should lean into their safe software Final Cut Pro with all the foolishness of Adobe capturing your steps and potentially using your work. Listen, I'm no fan of Adobe. I have friends who work at Adobe. Nothing against their software. Sometimes I poke fun at it when they get too rambunctious and talk about, they compare it to Final Cut Pro and stuff. So that's not that big a deal. But let me pull this up. I'm waiting on this. Let me see what I have here. Let me pull this down. This is my where is that? Huh. Did I get rid of it? App Store scrolling. Be right back. Cam link scrolling. Oh, here we go. This is my running joke with Adobe. Apple technical note, TN203457, working with Premiere. If you are forced to work with Premiere, wash your hands for at least 20 seconds before editing with Final Cut Pro. If Premiere crashes, wait for a minimum of 24 hours. Now, not only those, but you can report this abuse to human resources. The abuse would be being forced to work with Premiere. This is my little running joke. It's just a little joke, of course. I agree with you. Apple will surprise everyone with new hardware when everybody's saying there's no hardware announcements in the event. I don't know about, I think they're going to know that everybody's saying there's no hardware releases. I don't think anybody's saying that there's no hardware announcements. I don't think so, because I would say that would be wrong. Hardware releases is what they're saying. There's no hardware releases, just it's all be software. So we had a lot of hardware releases last year, and this year, that's fine, but I can't imagine them not showing off the M4 and what's coming later this year. They always release new Macs before Christmas holiday season. Always. Always. I saw a long-time Adobe user tweet he's leaving it after their stunt this week. We'll go over that in a minute. They're just dumb people. They said mid-2025 for new Mac Studios from what I saw. Yeah, but I don't think people are interested in MacBook Pros primarily. So they released a MacBook Pro, the M3 a year ago, November. No, it wasn't November. I think it was October. They had a Mac event. They released the Mac, or it might have been, Mac event or something. They released the MacBook Pro in October. A year later, they're going to release new Macs before the Christmas holiday season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I know darn well they are. I mean, they always do. So why not pre-announce them at WWDC? Say, hey, we got a new line of M4 Macs coming out. Mac Mini is needed one. The MacBook Pro is their biggest seller by far. MacBook Pro is the biggest seller of Macs by far. The iMac hasn't gotten any love from Apple for a long time. Why not announce a new M4 iMac coming out later this year? It would not surprise me if they have a hardware release, but it would really surprise me if they didn't talk about the M4 chip and the new Macs coming out. That would really surprise me. Could be possible that Apple will release Thunderbolt 5 equipped Macs in conjunction with the tandem OLED TrueMotion XDR display. I mean, they now have the technology to do so. It would surprise me if the new M4 Macs don't have Thunderbolt 5. It's already out. Why do you Thunderbolt 4 when Thunderbolt 5 is available? Do you think Final Cut Pro gets a feature at WWDC? Not by itself, But there's two possibilities. Number one, with Vision Pro, somehow, coming out later this year. Final Cut Pro for Vision Pro. Number two would be, here's the new M4 MacBook Pro coming out later this year, and here's a new version of Final Cut Pro running on it. Here's a new version of Final Cut Pro running on it. I don't mean 10.8 because they've already announced that. They've already told us some of the features that it's going to have. But they certainly could let it go, release it at WWDC. Absolutely. I thought it would be out before WWDC. It's not out. Could it come out today? Not likely. Tomorrow? They've done it one other time on a Sunday. They've also released a Final Cut Pro update on Monday morning at NAB when they released ProRes RAW. That was Monday morning that was released. So they could release it between now and WWDC to tag on to WWDC. So I don't think, the question is, do you think Final Cut Pro gets a feature? It's not going to get a feature, I don't think, like it did for the iPad. And even the iPad release was about Final Cut iPad, not about 10.8, which what I'm interested in. But I think we could see it on screen again in conjunction with, hey, here's Final Cut for Vision Pro. Hey, here's a new version. Here's Final Cut running on the new M4 MacBook Pro coming out later this year. M4 Pro and M4 Max chips for sure. Thank you. If you missed it, you said it. What's the word on the update for Final Cut Pro? We are still waiting on getting the new update 10.8. They pre-announced two things. Last year, they said Final Cut for Vision Pro is coming in 2024. They pre-announced that, and then they come out with the iPad Pro announcement. They said Final Cut Pro 10.8 is coming. They didn't say later this spring. They said it's going to be a free update to Final Cut Pro users. So we'll see. Seems they are clearly holding the release for something. Matthew, I agree, whether it's honing it, whether it's adding new features, whether it's waiting for WWDC, maybe that's what they're doing, which is unusual because WWDC is not a Final Cut Pro event typically. But Final Cut Pro Creative Summit last year, they previewed Final Cut Pro 10.7 at November the 6th, I think it was. The world knew about it. They said coming out later this month. It came out on the last day of November. So that's as later this month as you can get. So since the Final Cut camera, Final Cut iPad, Logic Pro's already out. Logic Pro's already had an update to 11.0.1 because it had some bugs last week. Since those three, they said later this spring. They didn't say Final Cut Pro 10.8 later this spring. They just said it's going to be free for existing Final Cut Pro users. But I'm going to presume all of them are going to come out at the same time. Later this spring is, the last day of spring is June the 20th. June the 21st is Final Cut Pro's 13th birthday. Who knows? The WWDC, let's hope so. Let's hope so. Let's go back to the graphic. If you notice over here, Tim is praying for 10.8. He has his hands in prayer, and Craig Federighi is looking at 10.8, but it's not quite, it's like in between dimensions. They're not quite there, it's there, and we have an arrow coming down from 10.8 pointing to the new icon in 10.8. So, who the heck knows? But it's only a couple weeks. It's only a couple weeks at this point. Some of the AI features we might wish for in Final Cut Pro might be released on the OS level. We will know more next week when they tell us what they have plans for their different OS versions. Right, all the OSs they have now. iOS, iPadOS, tvOS, macOS, visionOS. Surely they will talk about how to use their new camera app, or at least show us how it works with the iPad. We kind of know how it works. It works on the iPhones. Okay, it doesn't work on the iPad. It works with the iPad, but if you can, so how it works with the iPad is it's Final Cut for iPad has a new feature called Live Multicam. What that means is you can have up to 4 devices running Final Cut Cam locally, and you can have them all in a big multicam screen on your iPad and pick and choose which ones you want to cut to. And you can also adjust each camera. Click on a camera, you can adjust different features of that camera. But it doesn't stream that out of the iPad. That's one of the things people have been asking about. It does not stream it out of the iPad. It records your switches on them. It records that multicam on the iPad as it's coming in from the cameras. It does not have to wait until all the recording is done. All the recording is done. But I've been doing that for years. Okay, I started doing that in 2016 at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Back in those days, I used a device called Sling Studio. I could have 4, 5, 6 cameras. I could stream it live. I could record all the cameras independently, and I could switch it live. And it would record both the ISO cameras and the switched version. So that was 2016. That was 8 years ago I was doing that. What am I doing now? Same thing. I'm recording myself. I'm recording this camera. This is an outdoor camera. I can switch back and forth live. It's recording both of these as separate files and as a multicam. I've been doing this for years with Ecamm Live, exactly the same thing. So, and it's recording independent versions, both my version and the outdoor version. And if I have guests on, I have 4 or 5 guests on, the same thing. I can switch them all live. And I also have ISO recordings of everybody. But the fact that they're bringing it to the iPad is interesting, because it seems like the iPad in the version Final Cut iPad and Final Cut Pro perhaps going in little different directions. So it seems like. I would love to see generative AI within Final Cut Pro. Very excited to see macOS features. I think they are similar with iOS 18, absolutely. Yes, a better QuickTime Player would be great. I use QuickTime Player for doing some quick edits every once in a while. Let me just pull this up just to see something here. Just going to pull up I had something really strange happen. I have this outdoor security Eufy, and so it shows like my driveway. I can see when the Amazon truck comes here. And I left this on the other night when I went to bed, and it froze my phone. It froze my phone. It actually, the app was frozen, not the phone. I could get to settings. I couldn't get rid of the screen for that interface. I couldn't even, holding the 2 buttons down, and you can force it. When I held the 2 buttons down, it went into SOS mode because I couldn't see the buttons to swipe them. I had to attach my phone to my Mac via USB-C cable, and then I used an app to force it to restart with hardware, and then it was fine. But it was the strangest thing. I've never seen that happen before. I'm keeping an eye for when the Amazon guy gets here, in case he gets here while we're live streaming. So I'm going to show you, I keep going to this outdoor. Now you can't, it's in the background, okay? But there's more green there than should be there. There's more green than it should be there. This is toward my front yard. Let me show you what's there. That is a giant tree branch that fell down this week. A giant tree branch fell down. I mean, I had these oak trees that are 100 foot tall and over 100 years old. This branch fell down that was literally probably about 2 feet in diameter. It came off of the tree. So this is what I'll be doing the rest of next week and what I started doing last week. So I am not taking care of everything. I'm getting estimates for certified tree companies with insurance and equipment and stuff to come out and take care of the tree. I'm going to pull the tree down because of that branch would have killed somebody if it had fallen. And we go through that area and I mow grass there. So I can't trust the tree any longer that it's dropping huge branch like that. And it's close to the house as well. So I'm getting estimates. They'll be coming in this week and next week. But in the meantime, I didn't want all those leaves and branches in my front yard. So I said, well, I'll go ahead and take care of that stuff. I have a 5x10 trailer. I'm loading them on the trailer. I'm going to clean up the light stuff so it's not sitting in my yard while I'm waiting to get estimates. Yes, I do work fast. That was filmed with my DJI Action 4, which I love that camera. They have a mode, stop, whatever they call that. They have a mode. It's very easy to set up, and I have one of my presets and just set it up and just let it go. I was out there again this morning doing some stuff before the live stream. I don't spend 8 hours out there. I spend a couple hours, take a break, couple hours, take a break, couple hours, take a break. And I'll finish it up this week, and then I'll put together a compilation video and put it up on YouTube. I'll be looking forward to hearing about your experience of editing in LumaFusion on your new iPad next week. Yeah, I needed a new iPad anyway. My iPad that I have is an iPad Air 2. Okay, I don't know how many years ago it was, 4 or 5 years ago. I don't use the iPad that much. I prefer my MacBook Pro by a large margin. So I'm due for an iPad Pro. I'm due for an iPad. Normally I would not get the iPad Pro, but since I'm a big fan of LumaFusion, since I want a bigger screen when I'm on the airplane watching movies, let me just hook my camera back up again. Since all those things, and I also got it for $130 off, so Amazon special, one night for a few hours. Yeah, I'll be interested to cranking up LumaFusion on that big screen. Now, the other thing is, I already got a case for it. I already got the screen protector for it. The cameras on the iPad don't look to be that good. Have you ever used Native Instruments Complete? They have a decent deal for their Ultimate. Just wondering if it's worth it. No, I stopped buying a lot of audio plugins except for Apollo Twin United Audio. I've used other packages of different instruments back in the day. I do use Superior Drummer 3 and their version of Superior Bass and Superior Keyboards every once in a while. So I do use those. Although Logic's, I'm telling you, Logic 11 has some really, really cool new drummers. They sound really good, really good. Probably you'll upgrade your MacBook to M4 when it will be available. There's a couple of issues with that. Probably. It'll be out later this year. I'm on an M1, so I skipped 2 and I skipped 3, 2 generation, because I just didn't need it. This is my main machine. So since this is my main machine, since I sold my 2019 Mac Pro and kept money specifically to buy a MacBook Pro, I still have the money in an envelope. I have $3,500. They're close to $4,000. So it won't have to. Was that somebody just stopped there? I don't know if that's my delivery or not. Hold on a second. Let me see. No, it still says out for delivery. Let's see. Nope, that wasn't it. Somebody has pulled in my driveway, but it wasn't. Still says out for delivery. Coming between 10:45. What time is it now? 10:52. So any time now, I'm watching the driveway live. Any time now, it should be arriving. So, yeah, that's what this is, looking out my front window, and through those 2 trees that you can see, past that is the leftover tree branch that fell down. I mean, that thing is, the base of it is probably 2 feet. So the 2-foot branch, it fell down. It just fell down next to where we keep our trash cans, and I have to mow out there all the time. And it was really strange. I heard the branch crash Thursday morning. But I thought it was a dumpster across the street being put down on blacktop. That's what it sounded like. I had no idea that my branch had fallen. I didn't hear any crack. I just heard it thump hit the ground. So let's go over here and just check. And then my doorbell rang. And one of my neighbors came running down and said, I saw that big branch fall. I thought it was a tree falling down. Is anybody okay? Everybody okay? I said, yeah. I didn't know it was there until he came to the door. The battery life on my M1 Max MacBook is truly impressive. I edited several videos with like half battery, lasted the entire time, no horrible fan noise like my 2016. I don't think I ever, once in a while I hear the fan turn on, but not very often. Love Logic 11. They released an update yesterday that I needed to install later today. Yes, because it was bug fixes. Boy, I sent them a message. I said, man, I can't believe you all put this update out with such a major bug, which was the marquee tool. Certain ways you used it, selected, it would delete the audio file from the Finder. Not put it in the trash. It actually deleted the audio file from the Finder. Now, I tried to reproduce that. It happened 3 or 4 times to me when I was doing Final Cut Pro Radio. I would try to reproduce it. I couldn't figure out the steps to reproduce it, but it happened 3 times to me. It also happened to some people online. So that was a bad one because it deletes it. I think it might have been like if you're doing a voiceover or something. I'm not sure exactly, but it deleted the file. So if you were recording for a half hour and you got, I got this great take, and you went to do a marquee selection under certain circumstances, the entire audio file would be deleted from the Finder. at the Finder level. What would happen in Logic Pro would be on the region on the timeline would all of a sudden be blank. It would have no waveform. And there was nothing there to play. The region would be there, but it'd be empty. And you say, what the heck's going on? And you go back to the Finder, the file's gone. The file was actually deleted. So hopefully that's fixed that. They didn't specify what bugs they fixed, but I hope that's the one. That's the one I've seen reported. Cheers to everybody. Final Cut TV and coffee. Oh, I got to put the Final Cut TV up. Here we go. Final Cut TV over there. Final Cut TV and coffee. So 10.8 is going to be cool. They have some new features, including the ability to drag an effect from the inspector down to a clip in the timeline, or drag an effect from the inspector over to a clip in the browser, which I've been on my list for years. Let's see what else we have here. I'm just checking my notes for a couple of things. Let me see what we have. Notes. So there is, let me just do this. This is it. The ability to drag an effect from the inspector down to a clip in the timeline. So you can make a custom effect up there and drag it to a clip in the timeline. This has been on my list, the list, for years and years and years. Number 38, drag a customized effect from the inspector to a clip or select a clip in the timeline. Up above that, it says color improvements, rename color adjustments in the inspector. That's something I heard from people that were doing color, but that was also on my list for a while. Let me see if I have, what else do we have here? Oh, I was going to put this up. Here we go. This is just the Logic update that came out yesterday. It says this update, it's 11.0.1. This update includes stability improvements and bug fixes. That's all it says. But I'm sure what I was experiencing and others were experiencing with the marquee tool in 11, that has to be one of the bug fixes that they fixed. Has to be. Do you know if effects can be grouped and drag them to the timeline? Good question. I don't know. Maybe, because you can select multiple effects. Drag to the time. Yeah, I understood. Good question. I don't know if you can do more than one, because you can select more than one effect in the inspector. They just get highlighted with, I think, a yellow outline when they're selected. Maybe you can do more than one. That's a good question. Well, what is today's date? Today is Saturday the 8th. So Saturday, June the 8th. So Saturday, June the 8th. 12 days until June the 20th. So within the next 12 days, we'll be getting Final Cut Pro 10.8. Probably. Then, so this is the timeline that I'm seeing the rest of 24. 10.8 comes out within the next 12 days, less than 2 weeks within the 12 days. At this point, we could see 10.8 at WWDC. I don't know. Then, Final Cut Pro Creative Summit is going to be happening once again in November. I can't tell you any more than that. Future media conferences will be coming out with an announcement sometime over the summer, June, July, August. They will announce the details. They will announce the dates. Well, here's what we do know. November, because it's always in November, and in Cupertino, in proximity to Cupertino, because we have to go to the spaceship campus to see the Final Cut Pro team. So Cupertino in November are highly likely to be the same as they have been for years. Okay? Other than that, what I know, I'm not telling you. Future media conferences will be telling you. They won't, I don't think they'll say anything during WWDC. They'll wait to get, that after that, I presume. Getting something to drink here. Keeping an eye out for my delivery. When it pulls up, I'm going to run out there and grab it. I'll bring it in here. It still hasn't been delivered yet, so that's fine. Anytime now. Let me just go over here. Yeah, I'll be firing up LumaFusion first. First thing I'll be firing up. Absolutely. Just going to double check. Let me see if I have sometime they have you're number 6. I don't see that yet. Between now and 1 o'clock it's supposed to be delivered. So we'll see how that works out. Anybody watching over there on X, as a matter of fact, let's see. Yeah, we got 41 people. 41 people are watching over on X. 41 people. Anybody over there on X, put a comment in there. Put a comment in there if you don't mind so I can see if it comes up. Our friend Simon. Hi, Richard. Good afternoon. Greetings from Italy. He's on Facebook. I wonder if AI features will be hardware locked in terms of the M-series chip on board. Well, I think it's going to be a combination at this point. I think there's going to be a combination of using OpenAI and hardware. Are you planning on using your iPad as a second monitor on your Mac when you are traveling? Big thumbs up for that one. Yes, that's one of the other things. Going from 2 big monitors plus the iPad, the MacBook Pro screen when I have in my studio, going from that to a small screen is challenging, to say the least. I have to take the MacBook Pro because that's the only thing that Ecamm runs on. Ecamm does not run on an iPad, does not run an iPad OS. So yes, so there's 3 things. Number 1 is I use it for watching tutorials, my iPad, for watching tutorials when I'm riding my bike in the morning, if it's raining outside or it's cold. Instead of going for a walk, I put the iPad and then I do an indoor bike. Number 2, I read books at night in bed, so I have the iPad for that. Sometimes I watch tutorials in bed. Number 3, I watch movies on an airplane, when I'm on an airplane, because it passes the time best for me. I download a bunch from either Amazon Prime or Netflix, a whole series, and I'll watch them on the airplane. That's number 3. Number 4 is, yes, when I'm in my hotel room, broadcasting live, I'm going to absolutely use that iPad Pro for a second monitor to give me more screen real estate. Because sometimes I need to put a couple of things over there and I can switch desktops around. What are you expecting and very excited about WWDC? The iOSs and the Mac OSs and the iPad OSs and that stuff is is secondarily, thank you, is I'm not that excited about those. Now, of course, Final Cut Pro 10.8, if it's announced at WWDC, would be phenomenal. If it's previewed, it would not surprise me in the least to see Final Cut Pro 10 somewhere on a presentation at WWDC or mentioned. Not at all. I kind of expect it now. So anything to do with Final Cut Pro 10.8, maybe they'll release at WWDC. I have no idea at this point. At this point, I expect to see 10.8 on June 21st. June 21st is summer. So June 21st would not work. I think it's summer. So June 20th is the last day of spring, I think. Sometime that changes from year to year, but I think June 21st is summer. So maybe June 20th. Universal control would be pretty nice between your iPad and Mac. So when I've seen people use the MacBook Pro as an extension of your your iPad Pro as an extension of your MacBook Pro, they said you get the best results with a Thunderbolt or USB-C cable. So that's what I'll be doing. I won't be doing it wirelessly. And then LumaFusion. Okay, I've talked about LumaFusion all the time. Now I can use it on the big iPad Pro, the biggest, best iPad Pro available. This will last me for years. There's no reason I can use LumaFusion. I can use it for all the reasons I've already said. And like I said, I haven't updated my iPad for quite a while. I'm just not a big user of the iPad. I'll use it more now that I got the Pro, now that I got it. Also, a new version of LumaFusion is coming out. They have version 5 coming out this summer. So that's fantastic. And there's some free stuff that's happening in the version 5. No cost. If you bought LumaFusion, you're not paying $5 a month for it. If you bought LumaFusion, free update. Eric says we need plugins for Final Cut for iPad. Are you going to buy all your plugins over again? I'm not. There's no way I'm going to buy all those plugins over again for the iPad. I'm not going to do it. Absolutely not. I've spent thousands of dollars. I have thousands of plugins on my Mac, Final Cut plugins. There's no way that I'm rebuying those. I have no look, I'm not even going to try the trial of Final Cut for the iPad at this point. Some point in the future, I may try the trial. But why would I do that? I have Final Cut. I have the superior version of Final Cut, the more powerful version on my MacBook Pro. I'm not going to go to the entry level of Final Cut Pro. It's going to be frustrating for me. Where's my title plugin? Where's this plugin? Where's my transition plugin? Where's my RAID? How am I going to connect my 56 terabyte RAID where all my media is stored to the iPad Pro? It would be frustrating. I agree with you. I also don't use most plugins I own. I'll be more judicious in the future. So one of the options in Logic Pro that I noticed this week, only load plugins that are in use in the project. Only load the plugins that are in use in the project. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be cool if you can do that in Final Cut Pro? Only load the plugins that's in use in the project. Give me the option outside of Final Cut or a separate window to load another plugin that I want to use. Not load the thousands of plugins every time I launch Final Cut Pro. Some kind of a selection process, or turn these plugins on, turn these plugins off. Don't load all these thousands of plugins. I'm sure that's slowing down my system. Absolutely. Apple says that plugins are coming on Final Cut Pro, are coming on iPad. I know they said that. Where are they? It's been a year, no plugins. Been a year, no plugins. LumaFusion has a few plugins. Our friend Cormelt developed a plugin on LumaFusion. There's a reason why they're not coming to the iPad. iPad OS is not as good as Mac OS. Hands down, it's not. iPad OS is not as, I don't like it nearly as much as Mac OS. That's one of the downsides. I like that you can buy extra features for LumaFusion directly from LumaTouch if you need them. I do not need multicam because I do it in Final Cut Pro, but if I did, they have it as a purchase option, absolutely. They also have FCP XML as a purchase option, one-time price, no subscription. And they have a new one coming out for keyframing, Bezier curves, very fancy one coming out with version 5. That'll be a one-time purchase price. I mean, look, these third-party developers have to be able to have a source of revenue going forward. So in lieu of charging a subscription, they work on these add-on packs. I've interviewed LumaTouch, LumaFusion many, many times. 8 times maybe more. They worked for 2 to 3 years on the multicam add-on pack. I have that. The multicam add-on pack on LumaFusion is very, very cool. I've talked about it the last couple of weeks on this show, but it's a very, very cool add-on pack. Any birds out there? I've seen some birds and squirrels all through the trees here. We have bird houses. We have bird houses in the front yard. We have a 4-foot awning, 4-foot overhang, I mean, and we put bird houses up there for the birds. There you go. Now there's 2 ways that I would download the trial of Final Cut for the iPad. 2 ways. Number 1, I'm not going to do it now because I'm not going to be using it. Okay, so there's no sense in wasting a trial right now. If I ever needed to run Final Cut on the iPad, at that point, I would download the trial. Now, I don't think this is the case. But what if they gave you a new trial every time there's a new version of Final Cut for the iPad, like they do with Final Cut? When there's a major version of Final Cut, they reset the 90-day trial. Final Cut Pro. What if they did that on Final Cut for iPad? Every time there's a major version, you get a new trial for 1 month. Then you're talking. If they did that, then yes, I would try it out. And then yes, I would use it for a month, try it out. Listen, if the iPad is all you have, it's a fantastic option. Although I would recommend buying LumaFusion for a one-time price. But I understand if you're familiar with Final Cut Pro, Final Cut for the iPad is an excellent, excellent product. It really is. Both Final Cut for the iPad and LumaFusion are both excellent NLEs for iPads, hands down. Apple featured LumaFusion for 2 years in a row. They featured LumaFusion in their presentations. So obviously Apple likes LumaFusion. That's what I said before they came out with their own version. They're both excellent. I don't like subscriptions, okay? Apple does not need $5 a month from me. Period. They don't need $5 a month from me. They've got more money in Tim Cook's couch change than they need. I refuse to subscribe to Final Cut iPad. Not going to do it. I have Final Cut on my Mac. It runs great. If I want to edit on the iPad, it would be with LumaFusion at this point. But if I needed to run it for whatever reason, work or whatever, I would go get the trial for a month. If I needed it longer, I would rent it for 1 month as I needed. I'm not going to let the subscription month after month after month after month, because we get this. This is the subscriptions. They're all over the place. There's constant bombardment of subscriptions. I'm not going to add Final Cut to that. I have Final Cut for the Mac. I have Final Cut Pro for the Mac. I have LumaFusion for a one-time fee. I'm not going to rent Final Cut for iPad. Now, I agree with this. iEdit Project says Final Cut for iPad should just be a $49 one-time fee. I agree. I would buy it for $49 just to have it. But I'm not going to rent it. Apple, you're not going to get subscription out of me. It's not about the money. It's a very, very reasonable price. Okay? Here's the benefits of the subscription model for this. $5 a month is exceptionally reasonable price. Apple makes it drop dead simple to turn subscriptions on and off on an iPhone. You go to your iCloud account, you click on subscriptions. Right there, you can manage all of your subscriptions that you have, even non-Apple subscriptions, if you got them through the iPhone. You can see the date they expire. You can see how much they cost. It's a simple toggle switch to turn it off. So these are the benefits to Final Cut subscription model. Cheap, very inexpensive. If I needed to edit on the iPad, if I was going on the subway somewhere and I didn't want to take my MacBook Pro, I would get it for a month and I would go to subscriptions and immediately turn it off so it wouldn't auto-renew. You can still use it for the month, but if you turn the subscription off, it won't auto-renew on you without you thinking, oh, what day did I turn it on? It won't auto-renew. Now, it runs a whole month. And if you forget at the end of the month, oh, I need it, just turn it back on for another month. It's drop dead simple. Apple makes it extremely simple to do that. But Final Cut for iPad is an entry-level version of Final Cut. They wanted to bring that price way down, make it easy for people and cheap for people to try Final Cut. You can try Final Cut for the Mac for 90 days. The trial is 90 days. That's 3 months. So, but anyway, they make it, the Final Cut for the iPad is a very, very fine NLE for the iPad. I prefer LumaFusion, because it's a one-time fee and it's very sophisticated. It's been out for years. If LumaTouch added a feature where you could use an Apple Pencil for live drawing as in the file, I would be buying that add-on. It's the only thing in Final Cut for iPad interesting. There's a couple of things for Final Cut for iPad that I found interesting. That new live multicam is pretty cool. Don't worry. The LumaFusion team keeps an eye on Final Cut for iPad. It would not surprise me if they have the right on screen added at some point. So I bought my iPad Pro. I didn't buy a pencil yet. I'm waiting for the pencil to go on sale on Amazon. What I do is things that I want on Amazon, I keep a list of them. And I just visit them daily. See if there's a price sale. Everything goes on sale at some point. Like I said, I got a 13-inch iPad Pro, space black, 1 terabyte hard drive, the exact model I want. And one night last week, it was $130 off on Amazon. Click that button, bought it, boom, it's coming today. But it didn't last long. The next morning it was gone. $130 off on a brand new M4, 1 terabyte space black iPad Pro, which is exactly what I wanted. I will buy an iPad the day I start working on set, and I would like to try Final Cut on iPad. I agree. I prefer Final Cut Pro on the Mac, but Final Cut iPad is an excellent application, hands down. If you're entry level, if you want to join entry level version of Final Cut with some sophisticated features, it has some really cool features. You want to use the pencil, and you want to pay $5 a month, it's perfect. If you don't have Final Cut on the Mac, Final Cut on iPad is your next best bet. But I have Final Cut on the Mac, and I prefer, not only do I prefer Final Cut on the Mac, I prefer Mac OS over iPad OS. I just don't like the OS's operating systems, none of them. The Mac is much better for me. Right now, he has his fantastic Mac Mini M2 Pro. So going forward, when I get a new Mac, I'm thinking I'm just going to get the new M4 MacBook Pro whenever that's coming out. I presume it's going to come out in 2024. That's what I presume. Now, it's going to be $5,000 to $6,000 for that. I use this the most. I absolutely love my M1 Max MacBook Pro. I use it for live streaming as I'm doing now. And I travel with it so I can do my live streams. So let me show you my screen here. This is my 34-inch LG monitor. This is what I'm monitoring with Ecamm Live while I'm streaming live. So if I want to switch cameras, I just do that. Live multicam switching, back to there. If I want to switch, I can go to my MacBook, which is there. I can go back to the countdown, which is there. So I live switch with Ecamm Live now. It records all of those files separately. But can you imagine going from this big screen down to a 16-inch MacBook Pro, how restrictive that is? Of course I can do it, but it's very, very restrictive. But now I have my new iPad Pro coming, so I'll have at least, when I live stream from the Creative Summit this fall, I at least will have a second monitor. But this is my 34-inch LG. It's a Thunderbolt monitor that this is my main one. I also have another one over there, another horizontal monitor over there. And then right below me, I have my MacBook Pro. So I have 3 different monitors. This is a great setup for me. Great setup. When I'm in my hotel room live streaming, it's restrictive to go back to a 16-inch MacBook Pro. It's not a problem, but it's just restrictive. So now I'll have my iPad Pro as at least a second monitor. I can put some palettes and stuff over there. All righty, let's see what's going on here. I'm just going to check. So we got 44 people watching over on the X platform. 44 people. This is always, if you're watching over on X, just send me a comment, so make sure they're coming through. We got Facebook. We have lots of YouTube comments. I'm going to see if make sure X is always happening there. I'm keeping an eye out. I have the live camera view of my driveway, so I can watch when the Amazon vehicle comes to deliver my new iPad Pro, which I'll be playing with all afternoon with LumaFusion and some other things. So you know how that goes. You get something new. I've been waiting. I've said, I'll get the iPad Pro. What the heck? It was like, I got $130 off. It was like $1,700 something dollars, something like that, plus tax. So I like WWDC happening on Monday. I'm excited. I would like to see I'll be excited to see if we see anything with Final Cut Pro 10.8 during WWDC, the week. I would like that. Final Cut Pro team, by the way, Final Cut Pro team, everybody give them a big round of applause. This is for the Final Cut Pro team. They watch these live broadcasts. We appreciate all that you do. Can you get us Final Cut Pro 10.8 out before June the 20th? Please, we want to see what's going on there. Can't wait to see how Final Cut Camera integrates with iPad Pro. That's a very, very cool feature. I didn't see that coming. So Final Cut Camera will work on a lot of just cameras. It's a free camera app. Doesn't cost anything. How it connects to Final Cut iPad 2 is Final Cut iPad 2 has something called Live Multicam. Like I said, I showed you my screen. I've been doing Live Multicam since 2016. In 2016, I used something called Sling Studio. I could have multiple cameras, switch them live, stream it live, record all the individual cameras. Now I use Ecamm, same thing. So I already do what the iPad Pro version Live Multicam does. With the exception, even with Ecamm Live, I can still access the individual cameras, and there's lots of parameters that I can adjust. Can't adjust ISO, but I can zoom, I can do green screen. Let me see what else I have. Picture settings, brightness, temperature, tint, saturation, gamma. I can use a LUT in Ecamm Live. I can mirror, go black and white. Here, look. I can go black and white, see? I can do sepia tone. I can do blur effect. Well, I'm not here, blur. Blur effect. Deinterlace, I can rotate, apply to all scenes, set the camera. I can mirror, turn around. There's all kinds of things. I can select the LUT, so I can do all those. I can control a lot of those things in Ecamm Live now. So I've been used to doing the live multicam switching. Love you guys, Final Cut Pro team. Keep punching, absolutely. Give them a round of applause. They deserve 20 rounds of applause. We'll be seeing them. I didn't see anybody at NAB, nobody from the Final Cut Pro team. I'm sure they were there, but all the places that I went to, I was all over the place going to parties and stuff. I met one engineer from the Final Cut Pro team at Michael Cioni's party, the Strata party, but I didn't know him to talk to him. And then I ran into a former Final Cut Pro person, Steve Bays, just outside of NAB. So, but at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, we have sessions with the Final Cut Pro team. Typically, last year, here's what happened last year. I got into Cupertino, actually was outside Cupertino to the hotel on Sunday evening. Monday morning, we were going to Apple Park. And we got a presentation from the Final Cut Pro team where they introduced Final Cut Pro 10.7 in person. As a matter of fact, let me show you this. In person at the Final Cut Pro at Apple campus. Let me show you this. So here's that. So you're not allowed to take pictures. Where is that? You're not allowed to take pictures inside That's interesting. That's that. What the heck is... That's funny. I thought I had that in here, but I guess I don't. Very, very peculiar. Let me go to graphics. Maybe it's on graphics. Maybe that's where it is. Yeah, here we go. So you're not allowed to take pictures at Apple Park Video because of privacy, etc., of the employees. I asked permission to take this one photograph at Apple campus of a member of the Final Cut Pro team. This is it. So this is the two Bill Davises. My friend Bill Davis, both of them are my friends. Bill Davis on the Final Cut Pro team, He's like the manager of the Final Cut Pro portion of it specifically. And my other friend, Bill Davis, who I've known for years and been on the show many, many, many times. So I said, can I get you guys together and can I take a picture? And Bill Davis from Apple said, yeah, go ahead. So I took this picture, a nice picture. That's in the room at the Spaceship Campus with our two Bill Davises. Because the joke was, I've never seen both Bill Davises in the same place at the same time. So this is inside the presentation room at Apple Spaceship Campus with permission of the two Bill Davises. So that's fun. The Creative Summit is really, really a cool event. I understand a lot of people can't get to it because it's expensive. Well, it's not expensive like it used to be. It used to be $1,000 plus hotel, plus transportation, plus food. So you're talking about a couple $1,000. Last year was only $299. That's for all the sessions. They have sessions all day, Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the Apple campus and everything. So $299 is much better than $1,000. So it's much more reasonable. You still got to get a hotel, B&B. You got to get transportation. You got to pay for food, etc. I'm hoping that we're back at a hotel like the Juniper Hotel. The Juniper Hotel was like perfect for the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. It was really, really good events. Last year we didn't stay there, but let's hope. I'm currently looking through the App Store on Vision Pro, and DaVinci Resolve for iPad is available. I wonder how long that's been out. That's been out since for a year. It's a free version. I got an ad on my live stream right now for iMazing, which I already have. I think this is one of the first time I've actually watched the ad, but there's an ad there. Let me see where it comes back in. I'm going to hold my iPad. Let me see. Oh, it came back in live. So anything I was talking about during the ad has been missed. You don't get to see that. That's what I was wondering, if they rewound it back to before, but it's not. It came back live. So you miss that little bit when the ad comes up. Yep. Yeah, Resolve for the iPad's been available for a while. They have two versions. They have a free version, and then they have a paid version, a studio version. Let me go over here. I'm watching for my delivery. Let me just make sure it didn't sneak in on me. What time is it? No, now they say between 12 and 2. Okay, so that's fine. Let me just see. Sometimes they show you it's 6 deliveries away. I don't see that. I don't see where the truck is. Sometimes they do that. You're the 6th delivery. Okay. So it probably won't happen during the live stream. That's all right. I'll get done the live stream and then get my MacBook Pro, do an opening, film it opening, and do some stuff with it. Maybe I'll do the leaf cleanup on. Maybe I'll do the leaf cleanup on LumaFusion. What else was going on? Anything? Let me go over. Just going to talk to people messaging. I got a lot of people out there asking about. Let me see what this says. Wait a minute. LumaFusion is also available on the Vision Pro for $29.99. Is that a separate purchase from the App Store? I don't think so. I didn't hear them talk about that being a separate purchase. I think if you buy LumaFusion, it's available on all the platforms, because if you buy LumaFusion on like the iPad or your iPhone, it runs on iPhones, runs on iPads, runs on the Mac. On an M1 Mac or up, they don't have a Mac version, but they allow the iPad version that they do have to run on the Macintosh. So I can't imagine they're charging $29.99 just for the Mac Vision, for the Vision Pro version. I think it's one price across all, because whenever I talk to them, they never mention that. They never mention that. Let me just go over here one time. Let me see. Go here. Let's go here. Home. Notifications. Here we go. Okay, I can do it. X. I can do a comment on X. And there it is. There it is. We got a comment on X. Watching live stream. We have 46 people watching live over there. I can record a video. I'm looking at it right now while wearing the Vision Pro. Yeah. Vision Pro, Vision Pro. I'm not really that interested in the Vision Pro, but I don't foresee a time that I'll have to edit something on the Vision Pro, but who knows? I'm a freelancer. If a client says, hey, I want you to edit on Vision Pro, at that point, I'll be looking at it. So something else, I took my GH4 out of service, and I'm now streaming on the GH5, which is a big step up. From the GH4 to the GH5 is a big step up. I did not get the GH6. I didn't like it. I didn't get the GH5 Mark II. Nope, not getting my money for that. I got the Lumix S5 Mark II X. Now, Panasonic just announced the GH7. They just announced the GH7. The GH7 is the first camera, besides a RED camera, that you can record ProRes RAW internally. Who saw that coming? The Panasonic GH7 just came out last week. You can record ProRes RAW internally. What a surprise. What a great feature. Now, I record log on my Lumix S5 Mark II. I have all the lenses, my micro four thirds lenses for the GH4 and GH5 like I've had for years. So if I wanted to get a GH7, I wouldn't have to get any lenses. I already have lenses for it. But I'm not. My Lumix S5 Mark II X is a great full frame camera. I might at some point get a zoom lens. There's an f1.8, an f2.8 that's out that goes from 70 to 200 millimeter. That would be the only one that I would consider getting, and that's about $1,500. So there's no rush. I don't use the Lumix S5 Mark II X that much. Something else, Blackmagic camera app was updated as well with bug fixes and I think a couple of new features. So I truly value ProRes RAW, and I think it's a format that should be more valued or hyped than it is. Well, the problem is it's been restricted. It's been restricted. You can't, most cameras can't record it. They can record out to an Atomos, but that's another $1,000. The GH7 records ProRes RAW internally. Now, I think that's limited to 30 frames per second. It may be a 4K image. I haven't looked at that much, but it records it internally. The first camera outside of the Red Line, who owned the patent to RAW, First camera that lets you record ProRes RAW internally. Huge selling point. The only weird thing is, it's $2,200, which is what I paid for my Lumix S5 Mark IIX, a full frame camera. Now, I don't know, is it the processor, the new processor that they have or something that enables that besides the licensing? I don't know. I have no idea. But in any event, that is a big selling point. So that if I didn't have the Lumix S5 Mark IIX, I absolutely would buy the GH7. Both are the same price. Now with the Lumix S5 Mark IIX, I had to buy a whole new bunch of lenses. I have a 25 millimeter, 50 millimeter, 85 millimeter. Those are all f1.8, so they're fast primes. And then I got one zoom, I think it's 20 to 60 zoom for outdoor use. So I can zoom a little bit on outdoor use. I don't need fast primes when I'm outdoors in the sunlight, because I got plenty of light typically. So I got that for when I'm filming outside. So is everybody excited about WWDC? I'm excited. I'm excited about my iPad Pro coming in probably half hour or so. I'll be taking that for a test run, like I said, with LumaFusion. I'm not going to do a trial of Final Cut unless there's a reason. If for some reason I need to do it, I'll get the trial at that point. Or I'll get pay $5 for an extra month. If they reset the trial when there's a new version of Final Cut for iPad, that'd be very cool. I just get the trial for a month and then, do that. Blackmagic app new feature now includes rack focusing features. That's very, very cool. Oh, what I was going to say about the Blackmagic camera app, it does something. So one of the things that I need in my any camera app that I have, there's a couple of things. You got to support external audio because I use my DJI Mic 2. I record 32-bit float all the time, so I have that. It has to support external audio via the USB-C port. Controls or whatever, acknowledge it. Number one. Number two is it has to be able to, once you press the record button, you have to be able to switch the cameras without starting and stopping record. Filmic Pro, no, can't do it. Filmic Pro takes 5 steps. 5 steps to change the camera lens when you're recording live. So you lose 5 seconds, 10 seconds just switching lenses during a live event. No. So the native camera app, Apple doesn't do that. Apple camera app, you can switch lenses while you're recording live, no problem. Apple camera app does it the best. But the one thing with the Apple camera app is you can't go from the front to the back lenses while recording live. Can't do that with the Apple camera app. You can do that with the Blackmagic camera app. I did it this weekend. I was pleasantly surprised. You can switch front and back lenses and all the other lenses in the Blackmagic camera app while you're recording. Now, there is a little glitch sometimes, depending on what you're doing, that you might have to edit out 1 or 2 frames in post if it bothers you. But you don't lose 5 or 10 seconds like you do with Filmic Pro. You don't lose 5 or 10 seconds going through 5 different clicks to switch camera lenses. Is anybody using Filmic Pro? Have they had any updates? They just a horrible company took them over. So bending spoons. They fired the staff. They raised the price, blah, blah, blah. I would never subscribe to them. I have them until next August, till this August. Never resubscribe. It's no way in hell. I have seen Logic 11, and right now I'm super pumped about Final Cut Pro and WWDC. We'll see what happens. Fingers crossed. Final Cut Pro team, if you have any say, please get his Final Cut Pro 10.8 this week. Final Cut Pro team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. They watched this live stream, so we'll give them a round of applause. We'll give them a big old thumbs up. Did we give them a big thumbs up? There we go. Yeah, we gave them a big thumbs up. Final Cut Pro team watches. They do a lot of hard work for all of us. They release features for Final Cut at their schedule. They release features at their schedule. I got something wet on my shirt from the bottle. Something there. All right, since you're all here, we'll first off give you a thumbs up. Give you all a thumbs up, give you some balloons. Listeners to this show. Of course, I'll be back next Saturday. Depending on what's announced at WWDC, I might come back on for a review of WWDC after WWDC. I don't do watch parties and stuff. And the other thing is, there's lots of people that will review the WWDC event because it's going to be Mac OS, iPad OS, iOS, Television OS, Vision OS. Those things are not in my wheelhouse to discuss. Whatever they say about them, I take it in and make decisions. Look, I'm on last year's Mac OS. Not today. The only reason I come to, is it Sonoma? What's the new one? What am I on now? Sonoma? I always forget. Yeah, I'm on Sonoma, right? Yeah. So the only reason I switched to Sonoma is for this. This is the absolute truth because this is not available in Ventura. So the only reason I get to Sonoma with Ecamm is to do the little animated features. A WWDC recap would be fun, absolutely. I'm going to presume there's either going to be hardware announcements, their Final Cut Pro, 10.8's released, so they're going to show something about 10.8 Final Cut. That would be cool, and I'll come back on. So it's 1 o'clock Eastern here, so it's probably going to be done about 2:30 Eastern. So maybe 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock Eastern, I'll come back on, unless it's just a boring old software WWDC. If there's no hardware, nothing to do with Final Cut, I don't have really much to say about the Mac OS and the iOS and all that stuff, unless it's related to Final Cut Pro. With 10.8, I think Apple is not afraid of Adobe, so keep pushing, keep punching. Adobe really messed up this week. Yeah, Filmic Pro is a dead app. That's what I thought. They have now moved to subscription model with this new Final Cut camera app. There'll be no real need for Filmic Pro. With the Blackmagic camera app, you don't need Filmic Pro. The Blackmagic camera app is free. Grant Petty, I met him at NAB. He is such a cool guy, such a cool character, very personable. He's out there meeting with people at the Blackmagic booth last time. I got to do an interview with him. So I'm going to try to do the same thing next year at NAB. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of DaVinci Resolve 19. I do all my captioning in DaVinci Resolve at this point, and I'm learning some other things, how to do other things in DaVinci Resolve. So we'll have to see how that goes. So as you know, Adobe stepped in it this week by putting out, once again, they force you to accept their terms of service, or you can't use their app. Force you. You have to agree to our terms, or you can't use their app. They won't let you get past the screen. You have to accept these terms. And the terms of service were some pretty restrictive things. Talking about looking at your keyboard, looking at your keystrokes, having access to all your media, training. It's just a big, big fiasco. I completely dislike Adobe, the company. Their restrictive policies. It's hard to cancel out of their subscriptions once you get it. Once you subscribe, if you want to use your software, you have to pay them a monthly ransom for the rest of your life. When you're 90 years old, just want to edit your family videos, your grandchildren with Premiere, got to keep paying. You're on Social Security, we don't care. We're going to keep grabbing your money. I really, really dislike the Adobe ransom for the rest of your life model. So anyway, this week they put up a screen. You have to accept our terms of service or you can't use your app that you've been paying for. You can't use your app. We have access to all your media, blah, 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 blah. They are the worst way a company can do a subscription model, the absolute worst. And they don't care about the customers. They're dealing with the stockholders more than their customers. Why? Because probably 30 to 40% of Adobe customers would prefer to pay once and use the app, that version, as long as they live. They completely ignore that customer base. All their customers that would rather pay once and pay for updates without that constant drip, drip, drip subscription model, they ignore them. They dismiss them. We're not listening to you. We want to pay attention to our stockholders. That's why I like them. Bending Spoons is all about AI, or at least it was last time I looked at their website. But that's what about Filmic Pro? I understand Bending Spoons. I don't like Bending Spoons because of what they did. They fired the whole Filmic Pro team. I'm also pumped for Final Cut Camera. Can't wait. Hope it's working on iPhone 15 Pro. Yeah, of course, it's working on iPhone 15 Pro. Push Blocks says time to short Adobe. I wouldn't invest in Adobe for any reason. So I wouldn't short them because I wouldn't even invest them. I couldn't care less. And it's not about Premiere. It's not about Premiere editors. It's not about After Effects. It's not about Photoshop. It's the company that clamps down and doesn't care about their customers. They prove it every day. This week was a big fiasco with them. All righty. Anything else about WWDC and other comments or Final Cut Pro 10.8? Do you think that Apple cares about their editors? I don't know if Apple does. The Final Cut Pro team does, for sure. The Final Cut Pro team, which are our friends. As a matter of fact, let's give them a round of applause because they do watch this. Final Cut Pro team, this is for you. Please get 10.8 out this week. We're all waiting for it. A lot of creators are up in arms about the latest Adobe user agreement. They can look at your media. What a privacy nightmare. Not only them, CapCut. If you look at the terms of service for CapCut, they can record your keystrokes. Not just while you're using the app, you're giving them the permission to record your keystrokes. You're giving them permission to access all your media. That one, I understand, because they have to access it in order to save to it. They record your keystrokes, and they have access to your contact list. This is CapCut. Why in the world do you need to record my keystrokes, and why in the world do you need to access my contacts? No way in hell. I deleted CapCut everywhere I have it. There's no way in hell that you're going to have access to my contacts or record my keystrokes. But if you use CapCut, you've given them permission to do both of those. Where do those recorded keystrokes end up? Overseas. They don't stay in the United States. They're going overseas. So Adobe LumaFusion has come out and said specifically, we will never ask you to do things like that. Privacy, we will never, never ask for that. Their page that they have is only 2 pages for their normal permissions to use the app and stuff. Large models are difficult to train. They want to train the AI models on users' media, is my guess. I think there's more nefarious reasons why CapCut wants access to your media. I understand the media thing. Adobe said they have right to use the media, if I'm not mistaken. No. The app needs to access the media in order to put media there. That's where it should stop. You have no rights to pull media out of there. You have no rights to look at my media. You have no rights to use my media any way you want. And if I'm not mistaken, that's what Adobe said. We can use your media. Anything you create in Premiere is ours. BS. Hogwash. No way. No way in hell. All righty. So it looks like we're not going to get my iPad Pro delivered during the live stream, which is fine. It's fine. I'll be getting it within the next couple hours. Let me just double check over here, see if they've updated the time. It's right now it says 12 to 2. Now it says 11:30 to 1:30. What the heck? It changed from 12 to 2 to 11:30 to 1:30. Let me see if it has a year 10, 10, it doesn't say. 11:30 to 1:30. All right. It'll be here. I'm going to give LumaFusion a spin. I'm not going to do the trial for Final Cut Pro. At some point I might. Like, for example, maybe when I go to the Creative Summit in November, maybe I'll get the, maybe I'll do the trial then. We'll see. But I don't know why I would. I got Final Cut on my MacBook Pro, and I have LumaFusion on my iPad and my phone. If I want to just film on my phone, edit my video, I don't have to leave and take it anywhere. I can just do it right on my phone. But now I'm excited because I can record to an SSD, unplug the SSD, plug it into the iPad, no transferring of footage. It just stays on, the project just stays on there. Very, very cool. Adobe is getting it handed to them on forums, as they should. That's a sneaky thing, and they lock you out of the software. Horrible, horrible customer service, Adobe. This is for Adobe. Thumbs down. Thumbs down for Adobe trying this nonsense. Absolutely. Not listening to your customers. Horrible. Adobe is trying to exploit their customers to train their AI. You don't have permission to do that. I'm not giving you access to my media. Access to save in my media, yes. Access to use my media, to look at my media, no. CapCut wants to access your contact list. If you use CapCut, you've given them permission to access your contact list. If you use CapCut, you've given them permission to record your keystrokes. Not just while the app is being used, you give them blanket permission to record your keystrokes. BS. I read on the web that Apple itself don't use Final Cut Pro for the production. Is that true? What do you think? The last 2 major events, they were filmed on an iPhone, and the last one, it says edited on Final Cut and Final Cut for iPad. Final Cut Pro for the Mac and Final Cut for iPad. So they use their phones, the last 2 events. That's great. If you don't have an iPhone 15 Pro Max or like a 14 Pro Max, you have no idea of the quality that these cameras produce, especially with Apple ProRes Log, Apple Log. Phenomenal. I love Apple Log. I use it on the Blackmagic camera app because I can choose H.264 or H.265 version. you're going to get this new sleek iPad and forget all about your MacBook Pro. I don't think so. I don't like iPad OS. I find it clunky compared to Mac OS. I like the trackpad. I like my keyboard. I like my Stream Deck for buttons and stuff. How do I connect to my 56 terabyte RAID where all my footage is? What about my 2,300 plugins for Final Cut Pro? I'm not going to just throw them out the window. I'm not going to buy them over for an iPad. It ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. I think Final Cut Camera will be amazing. Shooting from 4 different angles and live multicam from your iPad will be a game changer. Can't wait. No more Mevo cameras, 1080p. This is a Mevo camera. This is a Mevo camera. My front yard where the tree fell down. This is a Mevo camera. Why not offer creators revenue for their data to be used to train the AI models and one of the class action suit was in the pipeline? It's ridiculous. You don't have permission to use my stuff. I create it. I use your app. It's mine, mine, mine. You, Adobe, do not get to use my media, period. So Simon says, read edit on a Mac and iPad, but I don't think you worried about Final Cut Pro. No, it said Final Cut Pro. The last event they had, the iPad event, it said edited on a Mac and edited on Final Cut for iPad at the end of the film. Both. It was filmed with phones, edited on the Mac, edited on Final Cut for iPad. It was at the end of the presentation. Watch it again. They didn't mention Final Cut Pro. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Absolutely did. I'm going to pull it up here for you. I'll show you. Show you live. We will show you live.
Where we'll talk about the future of our platforms and share some exciting details about what's to come. Thank you for joining us. Have a great day.
What does it say? Shot on iPhone, edited on Mac. I got to get off the screen there. Hold on a second. So it said right there, edited on Mac and iPad. Now, let me see something. It said right there, it didn't mention Final Cut Pro. You're right, it didn't mention it, but I think the implication was it was edited on the Mac on Final Cut and iPad. What would they use to edit on an iPad if not Final Cut? They wouldn't use LumaFusion, not at this point. Using the iPad as an external extended monitor with the iPad's display in reference mode in HDR project Final Cut Pro would be a great workflow to experience produce HDR content. Absolutely. iPadOS really needs some pro features like better multitasking, file management, maybe multiple user accounts for to truly utilize full power of the M version of the iPad. I like macOS by leaps and bounds more than iPadOS. Edit on Mac means that they use Macs, but not the software they use on the Mac. What software do you think they use on the iPad? They use Final Cut for iPad, of course. What other, it says edited on an iPad, what is it going to be? It's going to be Final Cut for iPad. The Mac implication is they use Final Cut Pro. Why would they use Final Cut on the iPad and some other software on the Mac that wasn't Final Cut Pro? It is understandable. Edit on a Mac and iPad means using Final Cut. Since the iPad, of course they use Final Cut for iPad. Of course they did. What else are you going to use to edit on an iPad? All right, let me see if I can do this. It's coming down now. I'm trying to see if they have, where is that? Well, it's downloading right now. Let me see if I can see what it says. If you say so, I believe you. Well, it only makes sense. What are they editing on an iPad? They're using Final Cut on the iPad, for sure. They didn't mention Final Cut on iPad. The implication was Final Cut. What else are they going to edit on an iPad with? Of course it's going to be Final Cut. Since they used Final Cut for the iPad, they most likely used Final Cut for the Mac. Maybe what I read is about Apple TV Plus Productions. Don't know. Yes, that's a completely different issue. Apple TV Productions. Would you hire a company to do something for Apple TV and make them use a certain software? No. If I hire somebody, I'm hiring them for their creative skills. I don't want Apple to make them use Final Cut. They may give them incentive. Use Final Cut and we'll give your crew some MacBook Pros or something, but making them, no. Whatever the company wants. Whatever the company wants to do would be fine with me. If I'm hired or whatever, I don't want a company dictating to me. Now, if I got to work in their studios and they only have certain software, that's different. As a freelance video company, no. All right, so let's figure on meeting back up here after WWDC. WWDC probably going to go from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock to 2:30. So let's say probably not 3, maybe 4 o'clock Eastern. We'll come back on and do a recap. Now, if it's just software stuff, I'm not really that interested in discussing that. Some other people do that much better. I don't have the passion for the software end of things. They could use Resolve on the iPad for color grading, but it's more likely using Mac as Resolve. Still mostly tailored towards a mouse and keyboard operating system, not a touch-based system. Yeah, I don't think, Resolve on the Mac is much more powerful than Resolve on the iPad. Video masters are worth a lot of money. Signing your rights away is costly. Adobe is way off base. Absolutely. Need the release date for Final Cut Camera app, please. The suspense is overbearing. Do you hear that, Final Cut Pro team? One more time. This is what we're going to give you. Get 10.8 out this week in the camera app. This is for the Final Cut Pro team. Each one of you is fantastic. Plus, this is also for the viewers, all the viewers that are watching on X and watching on YouTube and watching on Facebook. Absolutely. Let's go do one more screen grab here. I'm not sure why. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yeah, so we'll be back. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to over there at the YouTube channel. You all know where that is. YouTube.com at Richard Taylor TV. You can also follow me on Facebook. Don't send a friend request. Follow me on Facebook. You can follow. Same thing, Richard Taylor TV. So let's do that. Let's do that. You're the boss. Thank you for what you're doing every day. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks to all of you for tuning in every Saturday. I'm going to get off here, wait for my MacBook Pro, wait for my iPad Pro to arrive. I'll do a little unboxing video at some point and put it together. Maybe do a little tutorial for LumaFusion and some other things. I'm excited about it. It's the first one I've gotten in years. Mine is so old it's steam powered. All right, everyone. Check in to the YouTube channel. I'll be back on probably after WWDC, unless it's all software and nothing else. I got a feeling we're going to get a few surprises. I got a feeling we are going to see Final Cut Pro at WWDC presentation. I'm not saying that they're going to feature it. I'm just saying we're going to see it on screen, either on a new MacBook or something. Think about all the Hollywood blockbusters edited in Adobe. Do they think they own the rights to that as well? I feel bad for projects currently in post on the Adobe platform. They lock you out. Either you agree to them or they lock you out of the app. It's ridiculous. Utterly, utterly ridiculous. Thumbs down for Adobe. And there's restrictive models, also for CapCut as well, for the being sneaky and recording your keystrokes. But anyway, thumbs up for the Final Cut Pro team. They watch these. We all appreciate them. Thumbs up for all of you that are watching. I'll probably see you on Monday after WWDC. We'll come back, get the worldwide community together again, and have a conversation like we always do. In any event, I'll be back next Saturday. Talk to everybody later. Let's hope for Final Cut Pro 10.8 this week. Apple. Bye. One last comment there. Very nice comment from Ernest White. Absolutely.